The Color Orange audio book, Chapter 1. Darling, darling, I need your attention, Isabel said to her husband Sydney. Her husband was busy attending to his car. 1 minute, sweetheart. I'm busy with the car engine. Sydney attended to the car engine like all mechanical engineers do to their cars. Afterwards, he washed his hands and wiped them as well as take off his mechanical suit that he wore each time he did his work. Isabel, who is 42 years old, is still waiting a little bit impatiently. Sydney is 44 years old and is now thinking of their daughter Camille, who is only 17 years old. Honey, could you please help me hook up my dress, the upper part? Sydney quickly helped her with her dress, and they were going for an evening party at Hilton Hotel, which was hosted by Isabel's company Bellevue. Bellevue is a company started by Isabel which promotes female beauty. They advertise females' beauty products and do people's hair and focuses as well and faces as well as help them dress accordingly. The trip to Hilton Hotel was nice and comfy, as Sydney had dressed quickly in a gentlemanly suit and was ready with his A4 Audi 2.0 to start the excursion. They talked about Camille on the way, and Isabel had invited her to come home after their launching even of a new product called Traforma. Traforma is a product for both male and female clients to help them stay looking young. They arrived at the party at 7:30 and almost all the invited delegates had arrived. There were some waiters and waitresses to welcome them. There was some ABBA music playing as well as some music by Beyonce. Invited guests were dancing and some talking to one another. A few speeches were given and then it was time for the launching of the product. Isabel and two other directors launched the product. Traforma is a product that is made for you and for me. It is a product with aloe vera, chamomile, and lavender, as well as some ammonic acids and water. It's a product that can keep you young and also restore your youthfulness. The party ended peacefully and everyone had had the time of their life. A few hours afterwards, Camille called to say she was on her way home. When Camille arrived, the party continued and there was jubilation. Everybody had some fun and they decided to go to bed. Camille had a lovely dream as she dreamt of her studies at university in music and arts. The following day, Camille was happy to prepare some breakfast for her parents. Moments later, They had breakfast, just talking about family affairs. Camille left for the university, which is Sheffield Hallam University. She went straight to the library to finish off her report and to print the assignment. After a while, she went to attend a music lecture. The lecture was exciting and she participated actively. In the evening, her mom called her to find out if she could come for a meal with her boyfriend David. Camille accepted, except that she wanted to hear from David if he was available on that day. Camille called David and he also accepted. They both had a lovely date set for that weekend. When Saturday arrived, Camille went to pick up David in her Toyota Camry. Whilst her mother prepared the meal, Camille wore one of her recently bought clothes and the best for a winter day like that one. David wore a decent winter suit and a lovely bow tie only to go to his mother-in-law to be's home for a meal. Sydney was also present for the meal and Isabel had prepared the best dinner ever. Camille was really proud of her mom and of her cooking. Isabel made a prayer and Sydney started asking David some questions as to what he does in his real life. David said that he is a psychiatrist. He has his own private surgery in Gleadless. Camille seemed impressed by David's responses, and so was Isabel. Sydney was kind of mesmerized. A week after Camille had finished her lectures, David proposed to her. Camille agreed to marry David. However, David's father-in-law to be did not agree with this early marriage of their daughters. Isabel tried to persuade him to agree to the marriage. However, the father just needed time to think about it. 2 months later, Sydney finally agreed that Camille and David marry. The wedding went on fabulously. Camille wore a 1,200-pound dress, which was white, and the bridesmaids had purple dresses with princess-like embroidery. The groom's team had purple shirts and flowery waistcoats. The church was well decorated with marigold and jasmine flowers. After the wedding ceremony, people left for the park for wedding photos, and at the reception there was much jubilation. They received many gifts they had been expecting to receive. After the reception and the church anticipated rejoicing, there was a car accident. The bride and groom were in the vehicle. They were both rushed to the hospital by an ambulance and David had serious injuries on his hip and leg. He became paralyzed for a month and received special care from both the nursing staff and the family members. After his recovery, his family was pleased to have him at home. They hosted a welcome party. Camille was in a good condition and happy to have David back home with her. They were in their parents' home until they were certain that their condition was good and suitable for them to live on their own. Isabel and Sydney accompanied David and Camille to their new home, and helped them they helped them pack their goods in their recently bought home. They told many stories, and the conversation seemed to be okay, except they tried to avoid talking about the accident. They also had a couple of police officers come and question them. It seemed David was at fault, but he had had a slight headache. Therefore, he had to pay a small fine. The parents prayed for the house to be blessed. David's parents could not attend the wedding because his mom is seriously ill on her deathbed. Isabel and Sydney returned to their home, leaving David and Camille to plan a short honeymoon. They started planning the place to go to, and they thought of Saint Jean Cap Ferrat in France. The bookings for Saint Jean Cap Ferrat were not very difficult. They just found the address at Location Vacances Express. They then made the bookings with another company. They also booked a flight to Saint Jean, Saint Jean Cap Ferrat, and they set for the journey 2 weeks' time after the bookings. Both David and Camille enjoyed their flight as they talked and kissed all the way to their destination. Saint Jean Cap Ferrat is a beautiful hilly area which has most of the scenes covered by green lawn. It is excellent for couples on their honeymoon. It has a lovely statue, a bit dull in appearance, but lovely to look at. David and Camille found a lovely room in one of the chalets. One of the chalets. They had great fun. Their first their first night together at Saint Jean Cap Ferrat. Their second night was very good. After a day of sightseeing, they spent the rest of the weekend enjoying themselves and thinking about making babies. They returned to Sheffield happy and healthy. They were received at the airport by both Sydney and Isabel. On their way back home, they talked about their time at Saint Jean Cap Ferrat. David had to return to work the following day, and Camille had to go back to the university in a day's time. David had a secretary who admired him and who was pretty. Her name was Kiara. She bought David some flowers just to wish the best of success as, the, as he had come back to work. David accepted the gift but let her know that his newly wedded wife, Camille, may not understand it. Camille had a lovely time at university, although there was so much work to do that she ended up working with her friends Nicola and Megan. They worked very hard and managed to finish the rough draft of an assignment in a day. They decided to finish the proper assignment individually the following day. David met Camille at home in the evening and they kissed and he showed her the flowers from Kiara. She was not too surprised to see them because she put most of the blame on her. David was more than relieved because he had expected something like that. They made love and went to bed and woke up the following day feeling a bit tired. They went their separate ways, David to his workplace and Camille to the university. As soon as David went back to the workplace, Kiara wanted to know what had happened at David's home. David just let her know that the flowers were kind of accepted. At the university, Camille managed to finish the assignment and to hand it in on time, and so did her friends Nicola and Megan. Chapter 2. Sydney was working on some vehicles at work and he sprained his back so that an ambulance was called for him and he was taken to the hospital. At the hospital, he was rushed to a private room and his family came to see him. He lived there for 10 months until they told him that he was now paralyzed for life. This was sad news to the family and they hoped the situation would change with some more therapy. Camille fell pregnant and bore David a daughter called Lola. Sydney got back home and was given good care at home. He was happy to see his granddaughter Lola. Lola started attending nursery school at Havercroft Nursery School in Sheffield. Her mom used to pick her up and she was a very intelligent child at nursery school. She participated actively and her nursery teachers liked her very much. David liked her daughter Lola very much and was impressed with the work she did at the nursery. David's secretary was not very pleased that David and Camille now had a child. She was now in love with David and hoped that she may divorce his wife, but David was not but David would not do that. He loved his wife and child very much and liked to spend as much time as possible with them. David and Camille had twins and they called them Felicitas and Felicitación. They rejoiced a lot about their children. Unfortunately, the grandfather slipped and he died of a heart attack. David and Camille helped Isabel to arrange the funeral. It was a quiet funeral, but with many engineers and doctors present. There were also some students present from Sheffield Hallam University, but not many. Lola turned 2 years old and there was a birthday party for her. It was held at Globeline Hotel and a number of children from Havercroft Nursery attended. Felicitas and Felicitación both attended and had a time of their life. However, the parents, especially Camille, still missed and was mourning her dad. He died at the age of 60 and was about to retire from work when he sprained his back. Felicitas and Felicitación also started attending nursery school at Havercroft. They They also enjoyed themselves and were brilliant, but not as brilliant as Lola. Their teachers liked them and they did not have any problems with them, if any at all. Lola moved to preschool at Prince Edward Primary School. She was a bright child and was doing well in math, science, literacy, music, and gymnastics. Her teachers liked him and her parents. They thought that the parents were very supportive. Lola then started year one. She enjoyed it very much, especially IT and science. Camille completed her education. She passed her degree with a first. Her whole family attended her graduation ceremony. They hosted a party for her. She liked it very, very much, and there was a lot of delicious food served by Novotel Hotel. There were at many important guests that came from Havercroft Nursery School, primary Prince Edward Primary School, Davis Surgery, Bellevue, and Sheffield Hallam University. At the party, people had lots of fun and David's secretary was there and was just keeping an eye on David hoping they would fall in love. However, she met Frank and they slept together at the hotel. They seemed to get on well. However, Kiara wanted to get back on David. She wanted him to see that she had fallen in love with somebody. However, David did not pay much attention on her and she asked Frank if he would like to meet her boss. Frank agreed and Kiara led him to David and he was very pleased to meet him. However, Kiara put some cayenne in Camille's food which was alle- he, which she was allergic to and she started sneezing. She thought she had been served food that was not hers. She complained to the waitresses who told her that the food they had served did not have any cayenne. However, Camille did start suspecting Kiara because she knew that Kiara did not like her very much. Kiara also found out that Frank was involved in a long-term relationship with a lady who was also present at the function. They were involved in a fight as the lady found out that they had slept together. She had seen a hotel room number written on a card in Frank's jacket. She then asked the receptionist who had booked that double bedroom bedroom. She was told there was a man and a woman who had booked it. Miss Fisher then asked Frank whom she had slept with and was told that it was Kiara. She was shocked and nearly broke off the relationship before they had a fight. However, after they had a fight, Miss Fisher decided to break up the relationship. In any case, Frank was angry and they had a vehement argument. Their children enjoyed themselves at the party and made some friends and played some games. David drove Isabel home and Camille drove the children to their home. The following day, David left for his workplace as Camille, who had completed her course, left to take Lola, Felicitas, and Felicitation to their school. They were all studying at the same time. Prince Edward Primary School at Prince Edward Primary School. David was not happy with Kiara at all and decided that he would tell her to take a break. He advertised for a temporary secretary whilst he decided to tell Kiara to take a break. Miss Fisher attended the interviews but was not successful. However, her friend Catherine got the job. Kiara took the break and Catherine came to work for David. Catherine started her work well and she seemed to be very good friends with Camille. Lola was now in year 5 and enjoying her schooling. She got a good award for being the best student in her class. She had passed her work with a 6 pass marks, and all her teachers were impressed. Her father bought her a mobile phone, and she liked it and thanked him with a kiss. Her mother just decided to decorate her room in a Barbie style. Lola had a small party where she invited her friends to see her room. They liked it and congratulated her. David was now really looking forward to work and hoping that Kiara would have changed when she comes back in 4 months' time. Catherine used to go and buy the manager some lunch and make sure that his patients were satisfied. The patients liked her very much and looked forward to meeting her on their appointments. The 4 months passed quickly, and it was time for Catherine to bid farewell to the psychiatrist. Before she left, Camille proposed a farewell party for her at Hilton Hotel. The party started well, and David and Camille were present, as well as other people from the community where they work. People had lots of fun, and David and Camille also built a room where they slept, and David drank some wine, but Camille drank some orange juice. Months after the party, Camille found out she was pregnant, and then, whilst David was at work, she fell from the stairs and was found by Felicitation. She was then rushed to the hospital and was saved by nurses and doctors who were very efficient but was told that they could not save the baby. Camille had woken up feeling very exhausted and not feeling much pain. However, after some days, she started having some backaches and stomach pains. She stayed in the hospital for a month, and David used to bring her some flowers and sometimes fruits. Kiara was back, and there was a lot of work to be done. Both of them were under pressure to finish the work and for David to also see this wife get better. His wife get better. They slept together and David regretted it but told Kiara that he could not tell it to Camille as yet. He, however, decided to tell it to Isabel, and she disliked the news. She was very hurt but sympathized with both of them for the gross error that David had made. Camille returned home and there was a problem. There was an, there was a welcome home party for her for for everybody. Seemed for everybody seemed to be satisfied with her condition except her husband. They were signing song. They were singing songs and dancing except for Camille. Lola prepared most of the food and the rest of it was bought already prepared. Their guests had a good time and enjoyed the meal. David gave a speech dedicated to his darling wife and to his children. David then talked to Isabel that it was time to break the news of what had happened because of what had happened between him and Kiara. Isabel agreed and David went home to Camille and told her that he wanted her to be his secretary. Camille was surprised and asked him what had happened to Kiara when she was told that they had slept together. She was shocked and started to cry. She shouted at him and asked him when this had happened. She asked to phone her mother and was told that she already knew about it. She could not believe it. She mourned and felt betrayed even by her own mom. She asked for a divorce. From David, and he requested for a separation first, and Camille agreed. Camille found a job as a musician for Warner Productions. They were pro- they were pleased to have her work with them because they knew her mom. Isabel was very happy for her and congratulated her. David sent her a card which she appreciated. She was now living in a hotel. Lola was now at Oxford University studying medicine and she liked her studies but had gone to Bilton High School for her high school and had studied English, business studies, IT, food technology, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. Her two sisters were now at Bilton High School studying law, English language, English literature, mathematics, sociology, and accounts. They were doing very well and were successful in their studies. Felicitas won a trophy for being the best student in accounts and law. David hosted a party for Felicitas, and Felicitation was was a bit and the party was a, and Felicitation was a bit jealous. However, she had a boyfriend called Peter. Peter attended the party for Felicitas and they had fun with Felicitation. David bought Felicitas a car and the mother bought her an Apple laptop. She was very pleased with both and thanked them very much. She bought both of them thank you cards. David and Camille talked and Camille said Kiara had to be fired. That was difficult for David to do. This was the only condition given by Camille so that she goes back to live with David. David agreed after some thought to fire Kiara. She cried a lot after being fired. There was nothing David could do because he wanted his wife back. David employed someone called Oprah to work for him. She was a loving English lady just like David. However, David and Camille were still mending their relationship. They took each other to Paris and to Medjugorje where they did some skiing. They also did some shopping and Camille bought herself a purple coat and two beautiful dresses, one white and one blue and the other maroon. David asked her what had happened for her to have a miscarriage. She told her that she had drank some more orange drink at home and felt dizzy, and the next thing she was falling on the stairs. David just said he was in, he was going to engage some private investigators. David and Camille returned home in peace after they had left. Camille, Camille Camille's place where they had had a beautiful vacation. Lola welcomed them back at the airport and hosted for them a welcome back party which she had arranged together with Oprah. The party was well attended and Felicitation gave her father the biggest gift. She gave him a motorbike which she and Peter had bought. At the same time, Peter announced his engagement to Felicitation. David was happy for them. Started planning for their wedding. Felicitation was studying law now at Sheffield Hallam University. Felicitas was studying criminal law at Keele University. Felicitation was planning her wedding with Peter and their family members. Mom decided to make the dresses and attire the man since she is a designer called Sam. Sam made beautiful clothes for the bride and bridegroom's wedding crew. Felicitation and Peter liked them very much. They bought some thank you cards to thank him and other people would have helped with the wedding. Isabel decided to groom Felicitation for the wedding. She decided to introduce her to Transformer so that she may be looking as young as ever on the wedding day. She will also do her makeup on the wedding day. Felicitas was enjoying her criminal law at Colur University. She was getting first in her assignment and was in her second year. Lola completed her medical degree and was preparing for her graduation day. Meanwhile, the day for Felicitation's wedding had almost arrived, and Peter and her and her booked Ibis Hotel in Sheffield. They bought the wedding rings and they liked them very much. One of them was 18-karat gold and the other one was a 24-karat gold. On the wedding day, guests came from everywhere in the world because of the famous grandmother. There was there were people from China, Mexico, Canada, America, the United States of America, Holland, Africa, Germany, France, England. Makeup Felicitation's makeup was done by her grandmother and it was beautifully done. She also looked very young and beautiful. Her wedding dress was worth £2,500 and it had diamonds at the front and was white with a white veil. At this hotel, there was a lot of feasting and jubilation, and Lola managed to announce a graduation party's date. Some people noted it down and kissing with some couples. Lola danced with Daniel, some business tycoon, and Felicitas danced with Chris. The celebration went on well, although Felicitas slept with Chris Darrell that night. Chris Darrell was a police officer working in Sheffield. He was successful in his own way and they both loved each other. The wedding ended well and a few months afterwards Felicitas was pregnant and was expecting a child. She was in her final year at university. She had exams to prepare for and was reading hard for them. In the meantime, Lola was preparing for her graduation. On the other hand, Felicitas wanted to have a wedding with Chris Darrell. They started planning for their wedding and they hoped to invite many people. Felicitas' wedding was prepared almost like Felicitation's wedding. However, she had final year exams to write. Her wedding was well prepared and her wedding dress had diamonds decorations in the hands and with a horseshoe shape at the back decorated with diamonds and pearls. It cost her £2,800 and most of the guests liked it. Same design did this time and people thought it was suitable for her and was gorgeous. At Ibis Hotel on the wedding day, there were many guests and who came from different places as before. Felicitas liked the They turned up at her wedding, and so did Prince Darrell. Isabel gave a speech, and there was clapping after the speech. There were some people from Africa as well because some of their friends were missionaries in some parts of Africa. There was some eating, then dancing, and people enjoyed themselves. Some kissed and some drank wine, and there was great rejoicing. The Reverend also gave a speech, and both the bride and groom liked it. The wedding took place in a conference room in the Ibis Hotel, and the room was well decorated. The wedding had gone well, and David and Camille were thinking about finishing the arrangements of Lola's graduation. Meanwhile, Felicitas had a baby girl called Zoe. Zoe was a beautiful and calm and lovable person, and people just liked her to spend time with her. They had a quick baby welcome party, and friends and family gathered from different places. It was now time for Lola's graduation, and she bought some graduation gown. She bought her graduation gown from the university. She also bought herself a white blouse and some white shoes, as well as a royal blue ladies' gear. The graduation was on the 22nd of December 2009. It was enjoyable, and she made friends with many people. She had a graduation party hosted by David and Camille. She invited her newly found boyfriend, Thomas, and they kissed and danced. David gave a speech, and Thomas called for their attention and announced their engagement. David and Camille promised them an engagement party in a month's time. Meanwhile, the investigation for the mother's miscarriage started, and a police officer called Darrell was engaged. He began investigating the orange drink, where it was bought, and who went to buy it. Darrell discovered that Camille and Kiara were not very good friends, and it was Kiara who had gone to buy the drinks. She was his main suspect, and the family wanted to know how she had poisoned them or whatever she had done to them. Darrell thought she may have injected something from the top of the orange drink. David was quite satisfied with the investigation and paid Darrell £10,000. However, Camille and David were horrified that Kiara could dislike her to that extent. Darrell also asked if there was any other person who had drank the juice, but found out there wasn't any. It was time for Lola's engagement party. David and Camille were well prepared for a party for them. They invited police officers and graduates, and the party was enjoyable. Lola bought a dress designed by C&A, which was beautiful, and shoes designed by Louis Vuitton. Her engagement was enjoyable, and her engagement ring was £5,000. She liked her sapphire ring. Everything was almost as planned, and they received many gifts. Zoe was now crawling, and Isabel played. For a while, there was news that David's mother was seriously ill and was about to die. David and Camille had to rush to the hospital in Bristol where David's mother was hospitalized. When they arrived, she could still breathe and could still talk, and they greeted him. They shared some jokes, although she had difficulty in talking. David was in tears as he found out his mother was in serious pain. It was the visiting hour, so the nurses were out and the family was there with Jessie, David's mother. They were all a bit worried about the care she was getting there. Therefore, they decided to transfer her to the Royal Hampshire Hotel in Sheffield. She was taken there by train and she did not complain at all about the journey. At the Hampshire Hospital, they were received warmly and they were all happy with the reception. David and Camille decided she could stay there and they could visit her every visiting hour. The grandchildren also got to see their grandmother and they were just bidding farewell to her, though they were hopeful she could survive. Every one of them brought her flowers and fruits. There was a television in Jessie's room. When they were tired of stories, they watched the television. Jessie became worse and she died. It was terrible because she had a heart failure. Her family started mourning her as she was in the hospital. There was post-mortem done on her and they believed it was a natural death. The family was satisfied and they arranged for her burial. She was 70 years old. The burial took place at Hollins Cemetery. There was a reverend from Elim Church and other church members. The burial was quiet and everything went on well. People returned to their homes from all over England, happy and satisfied. They were all talking about Jessie's former good works. It was now time to put the stone on Jessie's grave. They all made comments to Jessie's tombstone and they wrote a lovely epitaph. There was also a memorial 2 months afterwards. It was well attended and people were happy to be seeing each other once again. There was a bit of preaching at the memorial and there were missionary friends who were also present. People parted after they had had some good time together and the tombstone was well covered with flowers and David had given a speech crying. The grandchildren were sad that they were really knew that they never really knew the grandmother. Everyone was settling down after the memorial and David and Camille went back to their workplaces. David worked well with Oprah, excuse me, until she decided that it was time to get married. She married a man called Alec, and they had a happy wedding and marriage. Oprah and Alec moved to Edinburgh, and she stopped working for David. Camille started working for him part-time as they were unprepared for the emergency move. Camille thought of quitting her Warner Productions job temporarily, and her managers were very disappointed. However, they agreed to let her go for 5 months. Camille and David had great time working together, and the huge workload they had was quickly cleared. The 5 months quickly passed by, and Camille went back to her Warner Productions job. David hired another secretary on a 2-year contract. Her name was Dawn. Dawn and David worked well together, although Dawn was sexy and only 21 years old. She looked young and seductive. Dawn and Camille were not the best of friends, but could tolerate each other. However, Lola and Felicitation liked her and kept their mother reassured that all was well. Felicitas shared the same sentiments as her mother and was possessive of her father. Felicitas' daughter, Zoe, was now at preschool and enjoying her preschool. She was not as intelligent as her mother, but she was good at school. She tried her best. When she got to primary school, she got a bronze award, and her mother bought her a congratulations card and a mobile phone. Zoe seemed to be doing very well with fashion designing at secondary school. She designed some prom clothes for herself and her friends Rachel and Portia. They were both very pleased with the clothes that had been designed, and they tried to pay her some money for the designs, and she refused. Zoe and Rachel were very good friends. They were both asked out by two different young men to the prom. Their names were Alan and Michael, and the former asked Zoe out and the latter asked Rachel out. Zoe and Ellen were ready for the prom night, and they left for Novotel Hotel in a limousine. It was a beautiful pink limousine, and there was some good romantic music playing. They were kissing all the way and, and taking short breaks. They got to Novotel Hotel and got some reception. and got some good reception from waiters and waitresses. Some men and young women and girls were at the prom and were helping themselves to drinks. There was a buffet and they chose what they liked and they enjoyed their meals. There was also some dancing, and dancing couples enjoyed every step they took. It was now time to go home. They were exhausted and it was almost midnight. They went back in the limousine and they were kissing on the way as well as hugging. When they arrived to Zoe's home, Felicitas was still awake. She was anxious to hear about the prom. Zoe had lots to say. Her mother was a bit tired to listen to the whole story that night. Rachel and Michael had had a good time together. However, they had slept together at the hotel. Rachel became pregnant and could not continue to go to university. Her parents were a bit disappointed in her and were hoping she has the baby and proceed to the university. Zoe's parents could not believe what had happened to Rachel. David and Dawn started going out and they were doing it in private. They were seeing each other at hotels and restaurants. People who saw them together admired them, thinking they were a married couple. Felicitation and Lola got to know it and told it to Felicitas, who quickly passed the message to her mother. Therefore, then her mother was shocked to hear such news and told her husband that it had to end. She made sure she told her if he did not do anything about it, her mother would ask Felicitas if the relationship had been broken. She knew very little about the action her daddy had taken to break the relationship. Camille decided to talk to David about the relationship. David was very unhappy and told her that he could not break it up. Camille told him that she was packing her bags and leaving. David tried to and beg her not to leave, but she left. But she still went on to leave. They had a little fight before she left. David and Dawn decided to marry. However, Lola, who got to learn about the marriage from Dawn's friend Lois, she then decided to attend the wedding. She arrived just in time for the wedding vows and presented her parents' marriage certificate as she objected. She was told that no child can be allowed to object to her parents' marriage. Then the mother appeared. She looked furious and said Lois had told her of this wedding. Therefore, the wedding was called off. However, David was ashamed of himself and decided to buy Camille flowers and book her another flight to Paris and to Valmorel for skiing. Camille agreed and apologized for moving out. Then David admitted that the major blame was his. In Paris, Camille did some shopping. She went to Sephora and bought some makeup. Afterwards, she decided to go back again for some perfume. She bought some Chanel and was done free makeup. They visited Versailles and Notre Dame and the Eiffel Tower. They, they then traveled around Paris in a boat along the river La Seine. Everything seemed to be going on well, and the skiing at Valmorel was fabulous. David and Camille returned home hoping to have a great time. However, their granddaughter Zoe was in hospital because she had, however, had a car accident. She broke a rib and was recovering in Jessup Wing at Sheffield Teaching Hospitals at Northern General. Zoe was recovering well. Her family bought her flowers and fruits and teddies. Her room looked beautiful. She received some physiotherapy and started walking on crutches. She found a friend in the hospital called Audrey. Alan also visited her and helped her to take some walking therapy. Alan was now a physiotherapist. He enjoyed spending time with Zoe. Zoe had already commenced her studies at university. She was specializing in pharmacy. Lola had twin babies with Thomas. They were beautiful babies called Sarah and Sophia. Sarah and Sophia grew up to be lovely children. They were a few years younger, and then Felicitas and Felicitacion's children. Felicitas had two more children called Graham and Gertrude. Felicitation had two children called Jacob and Jubilee. Chapter 3. Lola and Thomas decided to have a wedding. They bought 18 cards rings, and Lola bought a wedding dress designed by C&A, and it cost 3,500. It had pounds. It had diamonds at the front and at the back. It was also lacy in the sleeves. They were planning a big wedding. Invites were sent to 1,000 or so people that were from all over the world. The bridesmaids' clothes were made by Sam, and she made beautiful straight plain clothes. They had to buy themselves some royal blue suits. The wedding was going to take place at the London Ritz Hotel. Thomas Blake was a rich member of the parliament who could sponsor the large part of the wedding with a bit of help. The wedding day arrived and people found their way to the London Ritz Hotel except for the bridal team and the bride and groom. They were in 4 different limousines. Everybody traveled safely to the wedding and they were all thrilled by their reception. at the London Ritz Hotel. The waiters and waitresses were active, serving people, and people were selecting their seats. The day's menu was being served by individual guests at their tables. They had different type of dishes, all of them delicious. Most of the guests had a great time. They listened to speeches from David, Camille, Felicitas, and Felicitation. There was also some dancing and kissing as people dancing. There was time for as people were dancing. There was some time for giving gifts, and David gave them a house that Camille and him had bought for them. Their guests gave them small gifts, and Zoe was now well and at the party with Alan. They danced and had a great time, and Alan announced their engagement and gave Zoe a lovely big diamond ring. Jacob came with his girlfriend, and she did, and so did Graham. Sarah and Sophia found their partners at the party. Sarah was asked out by John and Sophia by Matthew. They danced all sorts of styles, and Sophia and Matthew enjoyed the waltz dance. Some more announcements were made. Gertrude and Jubilee also found partners at the end of the party. Guests returned to their homes happily and safely, but the bridal team, except for the bride and groom, returned to the limousine. The bride and groom remained in the London Ritz Hotel in preparation for their honeymoon. They booked a double bed and lounge suite for £5,000 a night and had all their meals served in their double bed and lounge suite. They were having a wonderful time, kissing and making love, and sometimes watching programs on the satellite TV. Lola's favorite program was X Factor, and Thomas's favorite was Friends. They had to cut their honeymoon short because Sarah had moved in with John. They had found a flat somewhere in Westfield, in Sheffield, where they were renting. Lola and Thomas hired a big vehicle to take them back to Sheffield, where they got there. When they got there, Sophia quickly explained that she knew about what had happened for her to move out. She just told them that John came to their house and just parked his car in the car park. Afterwards, Sarah and him were talking outside, and sooner or later there was some packing done by Sarah since the parents had already been given the address for the flat where Sarah and John moved into. They decided to drive there. When they got there, Sarah and John were still in bed, so they, they had to wait for a long while before the door was opened for them. The door was opened and Thomas started shouting. He asked why they had decided to move into the flat when they were still on their honeymoon. They stammered and reassured Thomas that he loved his daughter. That's why he decided to move in quickly with her. The mother just asked if Jean's parents knew. Jean said that they did not. They did not. Then Lola decided to let the parents know. Then Jean's parents, who were French, decided to come quickly since they were still in the country. They were Mr. and Mrs. Bouvet. They liked their son Jean very much, and they kind of spoiled him. They apparently had given him money to pay for deposit and for the month's and the first month's rent. Thomas and Lola expressed how disappointed they had become, but resolved to settle issues. The communication between them went on well. They all agreed to leave them in peace for a trial period, and John promised to marry Sarah in the 5 coming months. The parents left, and John and Sarah were left packing their flat from their flat, or the packing in their flat. They played some music by the Beatles. They had some fun and were happy that they had seen all their parents and that they had seen all their parents. They kissed and celebrated their new home, and after a few months, Sarah was pregnant and told Jean about the news. Jean brought her an engagement ring. Then, after that, they decided to have an engagement party. Sarah admired her sapphire ring. She thought it was very beautiful. It also had 2 tiny diamonds on the sides. There was great jubilation at the party, and Mr. and Mrs. Bouvet, who had gone back to France, came back for the engagement party. Sarah and Jean announced their wedding dates as invited guests danced along. They ate and drank in one of the dining rooms at Novotel Hotel. There was also some kissing, and invited guests danced to music by Robin Williams. Jacob and Jubilee were there with their partners. Jubilee got to meet her mother-in-law to be, and her name was Maureen. Maureen lived in America, in the United States of America, and had a PhD in religion. She was a gentle lady and very lovable. Chapter 4. Sarah and John had Sarah's gown designed and made in France. The cost of the gown was £10,000, and they both liked it. Their wedding rings were 48 carats of gold each. Sarah and John were still living in the flat where they were moved to, where they had first moved to, and they were paying rent for £1,200 per month. They had also bought a vehicle, and it was a Renault Megane. It was a truly beautiful vehicle, and a large part of the family could fit in it. They bought the vehicle in England at one of the garages. The wedding was to take place at the London Ritz Hotel on a nice sunny day because it was summer. The day arrived and two pink and blue limousines had been hired for the wedding. The bride and groom were in one and the bridal were in one and the bridal team was in another. All the other guests used their own transport and there was also a hired bus. The cost of the limousines and the bus for the whole day was £100,000. It was a lovely day and there were no mishaps or accidents for the press to publish. Everything went on smoothly and as planned, and there was dancing and kissing as people were dancing. Sophia and Matthew announced their engagement, and there was a toast. There was a toast for them and to the newly married couple. Zoe and Alan announced their wedding, and there was another toast for them. The whole wedding cost £500,000, and Thomas thought it was a bit cheaper for them. His and Lola's it cost £1 million. Graham, Gertrude, Jacob, and Jubilee had their dancing partners there with them. Gertrude was dancing with Michael and Graham was dancing with Beauty. Jacob and Marissa were also dancing partners as was Jubilee and Albert. They changed partners ever so often. They danced until midnight and there were fireworks outside. Gifts were given and they got a jet as their wedding present from Lola and Thomas. Other people gave them small presents, including the bouvet, since they are paying rent for them. It was time for people to return to their homes, and the bridal team returned to the airport. They were accompanied by Mr. and Mrs. Bouvet in their Citroën Sarah. Everybody arrived home safely and happily. When they arrived at the Midlands airport, they got into a taxi and headed home. The following day, they decided to make some booking for the Paris and to La Rosière. At La Rosière, they did helicopter skiing and Sarah and John enjoyed it very much. Sarah liked the Eiffel Tower and she got into one of the lifts and it took her upstairs to the top of the Eiffel Tower. She could see the whole of Paris and admired it. Zoe and Alan started preparing for their wedding and they booked the Hilton Hotel. Zoe's wedding gown was made by Sam, Peter's mother, for she now had a big departmental store called Agape. She had it designed and made for £3,200. Their rings were 18 carats and of gold, and they invited their friends from all over the United Kingdom, in the United States of America. The bridesmaids' clothes were bought from Gap, and the men were asked to buy buy their own attire from the same shop. The wedding day arrived, and there was a white limousine hired for the bride and groom, and the rest of the bridal team had to use private vehicles. They got to the Hilton at 1845, and the wedding was starting at 19:15, so that they waited for some minutes. They were talking stories as they waited. When the wedding started, there was great jubilation. Thank you very much for listening. That was my book, The Color Orange, Part 1, and Part 2 with the rest of the chapters, Chapter 4 to the end. Um, you will find them on YouTube. They are there on YouTube if you want to listen to them. Thank you very much. I hope you will love the book. Bye for now.